What's my cue, Celeste, to start talking? Trying to look on your document. I'm like, well, when do I start?
When I say we're excited to have you.
We're excited to have you. Thank you. Okay, got it.
Okay, so let's start
Is it okay to
here.
ask like how many? Oh, okay. Here we go. Hi.
All right, and the record on this computer. Okay. Well, hello, and thank you all for attending tonight's session of the Parenting Teens webinar series, How to Help Your Teen Transition to High School. My name is Celeste Kramer. I'm the Development Director at Inspire School of Arts and Sciences. Inspire School of Arts and Sciences is a tuition-free public charter school in Chico, California that specializes in helping students pursue the careers in arts and sciences. Enrollment is now open, and we welcome you and your teen to join our family by applying at inspirechico.org. The Parenting Teen Educational Series is a series of talks and panels aimed at supporting families in talking on challenging topics. Each of these webinars includes a 1-hour presentation or so and question and answer with parents, local experts, or educators. We are covering a range of topics from tonight's session on helping teens transition successfully from middle school to high school, to helping teens engage in constructive social discourse, to helping teens deal with trauma and crisis, to building positive mental health, and more. We record each session and upload them to our Facebook page, YouTube channel, and our website. So if you miss a session that you're eager to watch, please visit one of these forums to watch them or share them with others. You can also learn more by visiting inspirechico.org/learninginspired. We hope this series makes it easier to start important conversations with the teens in your life. And I'm proud to introduce today's session and speaker. The transition from middle school to high school can be exciting and invigorating, but it can also come with some anxiety and some stress for teens. Tonight, we are joined by Melisa Plants, a licensed therapist with over 11 years of experience in counseling, and 6 of those in the years in academic counseling. Melisa will be sharing her expertise about the common challenges teens face when transitioning to high school, and tools that parents and supportive adults can use to offer support, build resilience, and set teens up for success. And now I will introduce tonight's esteemed presenter, Melisa Plants. Melisa Plants' passion is to motivate people who want to improve their lives through education, especially those who have faced challenges and hope to build resilience. While working in the Bay Area, Paradise, and Chico, Melisa has accrued over 11 years of counseling experience, with 6 of those years specific to academic counseling. She's currently an academic counselor for Pleasant Valley High School in Chico. In addition to school counseling, Melisa has experience in the mental health field as a licensed MFT, including individual, family, and group therapy, school-based counseling for rural and urban communities, level 12 and 14 group homes, and intensive in-home counseling for adults. These roles gave her the experience in working with diverse groups of people with a wide range of personalities and backgrounds. Melisa is known for her enthusiasm, her creativity, and engaging people with positive regard. She envisions helping students develop their unique features and considers it an honor to do so. So Melisa, thank you so much for being with us today. We're so excited to have you, and I will now turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Celeste. I'm so happy to be here. And whoever is here, I am so impressed because there is so much going on. So for you guys to take the time to do a webinar and view a webinar with your families, I think is pretty admirable. And so thank you for joining me. I will share that, yes, I am those things that Celeste shared, but I am also a parent. I'm a stepmother. I've been a single mother. And so I have some experience on that end too. I live with a blended family, ages 6 to 17, and I have a stepson that's 20 on his own. And so it's just wonderful to have that wide experience in the age groups and have those experiences as a parent and as a school counselor. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some slides and kind of describe some things that I think are really helpful with that huge transition from 8th grade to high school. So I'm going to share that with you guys now. And feel free to type your questions in the Q&A box in the chat. I'm happy to answer questions throughout because I'm sure some of this will promote some of that. So feel free to type them in and Celeste will read them to me and I can go in further detail if you like. All right, here we go. So first, you might want to know, what do school counselors do anyway? So yes, we monitor academic progress. So when you go to high school, you will have a counselor that will look at your students' grades from time to time, usually at semesters or grade reports. And that's how they can offer you intervention. And so using your high school counselor for those reasons is a great idea. That's what your students can use them for, is just having that interaction with their academics, how to improve, and setting up plans. The other piece is scheduling. We're kind of like big party planners, I like to joke. And so we're trying to match your students with teachers and classes that are gonna best fit them. We do college and career planning. That's probably some of my favorite things I get to do. I get to meet with your students and talk about their futures. And sometimes, of course, they don't know what they're going to do, but it's really fun to kind of pave the way and show them different roads to get to those areas and goals that they want to meet. And then, of course, the emotional and personal support counseling. So important during these times, especially for our communities who have been through the campfire and now a global pandemic. So school counseling has been so important for our schools and our families. So please feel free to call, email, and check in with the school counselor at your school. So what are you going to learn about today, right? Potential challenges, how to prepare, and some different resources. So I'm going to go like my favorite resources that I like to use with my students. So the first thing I want you to do, though, is kind of imagine and think back to when you were 14. You probably had a little acne, right? You're between sizes and clothes, and you're walking around this big new campus and high school. You're kind of nervous, and all of a sudden, there's like a 6-foot-tall senior, maybe with a beard, walking right by. And that is kind of their reality, right? There's just such a huge difference now when your little 8th grader steps on foot to the big seniors that are ready to go be young adults. And so it's just, the first step is really putting yourself in their shoes. So yes, there's a bigger school. They're going to have new friendships, and their friendships are going to change. And so having some tools ready to help them navigate that can be helpful. And their performances, right? So if you have an Inspire student, they're performing on such a larger level and big musicals and stages and band concerts that just seem bigger, right? Bigger in high school. They have college requirements now, grades matter. There's no real repeating. They have to make up those credits, so things count. And as always, more freedom comes more responsibility. And how do parents navigate that push and pull with their kids? Like when to let them decide things and when do I intervene? So those are some of the things that I want you to think about as we go through this. So I'm going to just review quickly that your students are constantly being told that they need to complete their graduation requirements. And that might seem like not such a big deal, but if you kind of review all the different subjects they're taking, 4 years of English, right? And their fine art, they might take a career and technical education class, which is exciting, but they still have those lab sciences and social science classes. It's a lot. Not to mention, if they're going to apply to a 4-year university, my goodness, now we're adding world language, we're adding higher, more rigorous, advanced courses, and there can be a lot of pressure to get into that school that maybe your family was hoping you'd get into. And so it's just remembering that they are under more pressure, more stress, and with that can come some emotions and feelings that they're not going to come right out and tell you about. So I always like to think every time a teenager walks into my office, I kind of take a minute to put myself in their shoes and try and remember what it was like to be their age. So, and it's normal, right? It's totally normal to feel that pressure. So normalizing that, letting them know every student's feeling that, no matter what level they're at. I will say I've met with students with all different academic backgrounds and all different academic goals. And they all kind of feel that pressure of, well, after this, I'm kind of a grown up. So it's something to keep in mind. These are just more practical academic tips, but one thing to prepare is to start getting ready to check your students' portal. And I'm sure with online education, parents are becoming experts at that. You probably had to check a few different places and different ways to figure out the grades. And really starting at the freshman year and coordinating that, having maybe a day or a time where they go over it with you. A lot of the times I'll have students pull up their Chromebooks or their laptops on their own and have them show me their grades and have them explain how they're gonna come up with missing assignments or what deal they're gonna work out with their teacher. And so that comes to my next point, help your student communicate with their teachers. That might be different from middle school where you might check in, or definitely me as elementary, you're gonna, email their teacher for them. But in high school, you really want to support your student with communicating with their teachers as much as possible. That's just a practice that the high school really hopes for. And ideally in the freshman year, you can help them navigate what I call like netiquette, like internetiquette. A lot of times kids will like talk to their teachers like they're texting, like, hey, can I get that assignment? Can I do that test? And maybe having you there that first year to kind of guide them with some more formalities will help them feel better and get a better response, right? Lots of thank yous and appreciate it and explanations. So that could be something you can help them with. When I was in school, we had planners. Nowadays, the kids like to go digital. And so I'll sometimes give them like a Excel spreadsheet where they can write their homework in. And that can be really helpful too. I can show you guys one later, but just find a way that works for them, whether that's reminders on their phone or a digital way to set their schedule, because it's too much work to remember. And it's really something they do need. And if they can start doing it freshman year, they'll get better through life. Helping your students stay organized, right? We do kind of like a Friday cleanup day. Have a structured homework study time. So if the kids know, hey, when I get home from school, I get a snack and then I'm expected to finish my homework by a certain time because we have plans, it helps them create their own structure. And before you know it, they'll start to follow it on their own. Not every kid's like that, believe me. I've had long breakdowns, crying about homework. I know it's not perfect, but routine is the best thing you can do. So start as young as possible. And sometimes you're going to bend the rules, right? Especially with COVID and all that we've been through. Sometimes it's not going to be perfect. So that flexibility is important as well, but something to keep in mind. And there is a difference between homework and studying in high school. So in middle school, they probably did their work. Maybe they even finished it in class, and they're not necessarily used to studying more than a few flashcards. But when you're taking a world language and you're learning complex terms in your science classes and your math classes, there really is a time now for studying. And lastly, tutoring. I'm going to give you guys my school counseling trick is I really encourage students to find an upperclassman that they trust. And, you know, if you guys have a family friend, because man, they make the best tutors. And what I mean is sometimes they will have had that teacher before and they know what that teacher expects. And they can give the best tips and they speak their language. So if there isn't a peer tutoring program at your school, think about what older students they might know and maybe help them reach out to them for help because they do make fantastic tutors. All right, so those are kind of the basics. But now if we go a little deeper emotionally, some things you may want to encourage are developing meaningful relationships, right? It's not easier said than done, but I have some later ideas that might help them with that because as they enter high school, they're gonna maybe have some romantic relationships and navigating that can be pretty tricky. So I have a tool later on that I can show you for that. Active lifestyle as much as we can safely, right? But they do show that activity really does help with mood stabilization. We also want to encourage them to pursue a hobby or volunteer work, again, with the parameters as much as possible. Maybe they've taken up a new instrument or a new hobby, but if you can influence or you see them kind of light up when they do something, really try to encourage that they develop that because it's really good for balancing with all the academics they're doing. And one of the biggest things I encourage is that you have a discussion about thinking twice before you post. I'm sure you all have, right? But it's, as you know, it's so important these days to think twice before you post, not just for college, not just for future jobs, but for those meaningful relationships. I have a lot of students that regret what they posted and they feel bad about maybe hurting someone's feelings, maybe a good friend, or maybe I shared too much and I wish I could take it back. So it's just so hard nowadays navigating those things. You could do a whole webinar just on that. But I think those conversations with families can really help. And just that idea of I'm going to think twice before I click send or I click post. And getting involved on campus. If we do return to more in person, it's really helpful if they get involved somehow. Maybe your school has a student store and it can be on a big level or a small level, but you're starting to like really get that community feel when you volunteer to maybe work the stage crew or help with lighting in a show, pass out tickets, do yearbook. You don't have to be the star player, but just being part of the community, student government, those types of things, I notice really boost the students' mood and really helps them feel like they are part of the culture. So that is definitely a good tip. And you too, as parents, can get involved. I work, and so I know it's hard, but every once in a while, if you can get involved, if your students really into a particular thing, maybe you help out with an event for their interest. And so just showing your support, showing up for them for those things really helps. So this is one of those pictures that I show a lot of students, especially freshmen, because a lot of times, especially with social media and Instagram, we just see a pretty picture. We just see it, the iceberg, right? It looks nice, but really what's underneath is what we don't see. So the analogy I kind of use with kids is I'll pick a musician. And for you parents, since you might like John Legend or someone like that. And so you might see this incredible performer, right? Who's so fine-tuned and excellent and talented. But what we didn't see was his dedication, his hard work, his practicing, his good habits. Maybe he didn't get his first record label. He probably had to practice more and have some failed songs and persist through that to get to be who he is. Sometimes we only highlight the final product, but we don't always highlight all the hard work that goes into becoming successful. And so really applauding your students when even when they mess up, like, man, you got out there, or wow, you tried, or okay, let's keep going. What's the plan? I'll help you. And then when they are sad, when they are in the failure spot, validating, this is so hard. And sometimes sitting with them in the sadness, even though it's heartbreaking for parents, can be really helpful for the kids. Just someone to sit with them. Sometimes it's the simple things. I'd like to show you guys a video on mindset. I think right now we sometimes get stuck. Sometimes kids get stuck with, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. This is too hard. And so this is kind of a neat video to show us a different way of looking at things. So I'm going to see if that works here.
Researcher and professor Carol Dweck uses the term mindset to describe the way people think about ability and talent. Dweck delineates between two different mindsets that exist on a continuum. The first is the fixed mindset, which suggests that your abilities are innate and unchangeable. The second is a growth mindset, which views it as something you can improve through practice. In a fixed mindset, you view failure as permanent. But with a growth mindset, you see failure as a chance to learn and even pivot. Those with a fixed mindset are more likely to do systems. The fixed mindset, you're more likely to choose easier tasks and put in minimal effort. After all, if talent is fixed, why bother improving? Why even try? But with the growth mindset, you're more likely to embrace challenging tasks and work hard to improve. Those with a fixed mindset are likely to give up when they face an obstacle. Meanwhile, those with a growth mindset will view obstacles as a chance to experiment and solve problems. In a fixed mindset, the focus is on measurable accomplishment. But with the growth mindset, the focus is more.
I'm back. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I lost you, but I will continue on. I hope that you can all still hear me. I don't know if I lost Celeste too, but we will do our best. Right? Growth mindset will be a learning experience. I don't know, I got kicked off. So let me continue. Yes, I love that idea of the growth mindset with growing students' brains. And it just really helps. Oh, there we go. Hi. That was exciting. We don't know what happened.
So were you paused also?
Yes, are we still live? Are we still going?
Yes, we're
Okay.
still going. We'll just cut that little part out. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for hanging in there. Okay. So another tool I use with students, besides the growth mindset, is discussing their brains. And with COVID and the campfire especially, I like to focus on talking about their prefrontal cortex. And that's something that's developing. It's when they're stressed to this area of the brain, it does make it harder for them to focus on things like English and science when they're worried and stressed. And so I like to also show them these 10 exercises for your prefrontal cortex. So that way, as a parent, you can say, oh no, I'm not telling you to go outside or get good sleep or be active just because I'm trying to make you something, make you do something. It's actually really good for your brain. There's plenty of research to show that it can help them activate their prefrontal cortex in a healthier way. It'll help balance their moods. And so one of the most fun ones, though, I like to tell my teenagers that come in is to play. So if your students are involved in theater, something like that, or some type of acting or doing presentations where they're being another character, that's so good for their brains. And so I really encourage artistic expression. I think that can really help, and it'll help raise their grades in the other subjects as well. So it's a win-win. Another one I like to highlight is be of service and a volunteer, because when you're helping someone else, you're not thinking about all your worries. It gives you a break. It really does. And so I'll tell them, hey, look in your phone right now. Who are 10 people that you want to say something nice to because you care about them and you've been thinking about them? And that act alone helps them activate some positive moods. So that's like a little trick. Of course, we want them to deny the drama. That's hard for them to do. But if you ever want to show them this, I'm happy to give you access to my slides, and you can look it up at the Heart Mind Institute online. And it just continues to amaze me how these little things can really help a student lift back up when they feel really low. Another tool I like to use is the wellness wheel. I tell students your life is like a big piece of pizza, a big pizza pie actually, and sometimes we're focused on one slice and we need to maybe look at some other areas that you feel like you're missing out on, so you're not so focused on one thing. And we're never perfect, right? No adult is perfectly balanced in all their life areas. But sometimes this can be a tool to help you see, well, maybe if I've been focusing so much on my social pizza pie that I've been neglecting my environmental piece of pie, and maybe I need to go outside and take a walk, and I might feel differently about things going on. So this is another wellness tool I like to use with teenagers that you're welcome to use as well. And this is one of my favorites because we are all very gifted in different areas. That is my real belief. And society might, and school might put more, emphasis on the mathematical and the linguistic. But there's so many different intelligences. And sometimes when we're highlighting these two all the time, a student who is more musically inclined, or a naturalist, or someone like me who's more interpersonal, may not feel like we're that intelligent when actually we are. We just have it in a different area. And so kind of going over and highlighting your students' gifts can feel really good in a culture and a society that may not appreciate it as much. And kind of highlighting and talking about these different intelligences might help lead your student to a potential career. And so one thing I like to do is I like to joke like, okay, I'm a counselor and that's why I probably have stronger intelligence in this area, but oh my goodness, my spatial intelligence, not happening. I will get lost on a hike. Don't give me directions. Don't show me a map. It's not happening. And so kind of showing them it's okay to be lower in another intelligence is just normal and part of life. So a lot of validation goes into counseling teenagers and kind of liking them for who they are. This is something I definitely wanted to show students and parents, because as they go into new relationships with each other, they are going to be they're going to form attachments. And so sometimes teenagers like to meet someone and all of a sudden they're their best friend. They might go real quick. They're their boyfriend, they're their girlfriend, they go real fast. And so sometimes I use this tool to show the different levels. So each area is almost like volume. So you get to know someone first, and this works with friendships or romantic relationships really, but you get to know someone and then you don't trust them till you get to know them really well. So if you barely know someone and you trust them with your car might get stolen, right? So maybe you know someone for years and they're amazing and they take care of items that you've given them in the past. So yeah, you're going to trust them more, right? And then as you trust them more, you're going to find that they're really reliable. And when you need them, they show up. When they say, I'm going to be there at 3 o'clock, they're there at 3 o'clock. And so you don't move up in these areas. You don't rely on people unless you really know them, trust them, right? And then we get to these commitments, and touch is more not just, romantic touch, but sharing that physical space with people. You really want to understand your relationship before you encroach on that safety area. So that's something I do like to show them. I talk to teens a lot about the love drug, and if you go too far in the levels, if you go too fast, you get hit with the love drug, right? And the endorphins are going, and you make excuses for things like, oh, it's not a big deal they forgot my birthday, or it's not a big deal that they hurt me. And that's how very dysfunctional and sometimes violent relationships can happen. They think they're in love, and so they make excuses for things that maybe if they took time to get to know them, that they would know that they're not a good fit. So that's something I use to help them with that. And lastly, I talk to teens a lot in my job, and I really, really enjoy it. So I want to just kind of share some tips, because a lot of teens like to shut down, go in their room, play Fortnite or whatever they're doing, log in, talk to their friends, make TikTok videos. And so these are just my tips on how I get teens to open up. Especially if a teen comes to you with a story, I would drop everything you're doing, because it must be important, right? They're coming to someone older, not a peer, and they're excited. So it's an opportunity. So always seize those special opportunities, because there's going to be less and less the older they get. It depends on the kid, but tends to. And then I try not to interject my story or my take on it, but I really ask them questions specific to their story. Details, even if that's not my thing, I can tell it's their thing. So I'm going to go real detailed questions and really get them to light up and talk about what they're interested in. And then if they are coming to you with an issue or a concern about a friend, instead of telling them, well, you should do this, I would say, what are you thinking about doing? How are you going to handle that? Or what are you thinking about saying? And that way you're showing confidence in them. Parenting through the middle school to high school, it's shifting a lot of responsibility onto your student. And so ninth grade's a good time to start. And so another way to ask is, how are you going to get what you need or want? Sounds like you're going to call your teacher. Or how are you going to make that happen? Oh, it sounds like you really need to study. And it will build their personal confidence if you kind of let them be in charge to a degree, right? We're still their parents, but in counseling, if they can come up with their own solutions, it's going to be that much stronger that the chances of them following through and really going for it. And I love action steps. As a counselor, I'm all solution focused. If they have an action step, I'm gonna just throw them a party. I'm gonna be thrilled that they want to do something about it. So that's just my tip for how I'm able to get teens to open up. I'm just listening most of the time. And if they will let me interject with my fun pictures that I showed you, I bet if there are students that ever see this that I've worked with, they'll go, oh yeah, she showed me that, she showed me that. And I kind of wait for that right time to insert some knowledge. So they won't always come out and ask for it, but if it relates to the topic, I throw that in. So I think we've come to the part where you're welcome to ask me questions. And if you think of some questions later, this is my work email, and I'm happy to share with you some of these slides and support you with your teens.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Oh my gosh, when you showed that pie, I was thinking, I need that. I need to know what I need to focus on more. Because we tend to focus on certain things and ignore the rest. And that balance is so important. One of the questions that came up was, if teens aren't explicitly sharing their fears or concerns, how might they show them behaviorally? How might that come out?
Great question. I'm so glad you asked that. I think the key to noticing something going wrong or something to check in about, if they're not explicitly telling you, is if they stop doing something they used to love. So here, I'll jump back in. But yeah, if they all of a sudden just like, wow, they quit that thing they used to love, or gosh, I don't see them hanging out with that friend they used to love and enjoy. And so if they're doing that in a couple different areas, I think something's going on. And so it's kind of relating to them through their world. So that's the way I kind of go, like, gosh, you were an A student and then it looks like something happened, because that's not really you, is it? It's trusting who you know them to be, right? Who they were when they were little and they grew up, and you go, what's going on? I see, and just name it, name what you see. And they usually will open up or call your counselor, and they can, sometimes they don't, it's too close to home with their parents. So really using your community resources, your high school counselor, the coaches, family, friends, it really does take a village. And I always laugh because parents will go, I said the same thing at home. And I go, I know, they just needed someone else to say it. We're in this together. We're on the same team, you know?
That is so true. It always takes a little toll on your self-esteem when you're a parent of a teenager. And I think that parents need to remember that.
Yeah, pat yourself on the back and go, yeah, that's what I said. Good. Right. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. They didn't hear me, but that's okay. So as far as having them get involved, like you said, it was really important for them to get involved in school, like especially, what would be your recommendation for when they walk on that campus? Let them kind of figure things out, and then recommend that, okay, maybe you should get involved here or here if they don't. I'm sure some kids are gonna be better at that than others. There's gonna be some that are naturally gonna just jump right in.
Right? I think really encouraging those relationships with their teachers, because their teachers are usually the ones that go, man, you're really talented. I could really use you in this club I've got going, or gosh, would you? And it's so meaningful when the teacher notices them and invites them to something. It feels so good to be invited. So give them a chance to be invited too. And if not, utilizing their friends too. And that's where that volunteer work comes in. Like, hey, we need to volunteer. And usually there's a volunteer club at school, and it could be a family rule that you pick something, just one thing. I just find something, and you get to choose, but I just want you to do something.
I like that. Here's your list.
Yeah.
You get to choose which one,
Yep.
but you have to choose something.
Right.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So there's no more questions, but did you have any last minute thoughts you wanted to add or anything like that? This was so helpful, and I was actually trying to think as you were talking, but you kept answering every question that I had as a parent of an 8th grader. So
no, I just want to appreciate the families out there. You've done so much this past, it feels like forever, but it's been a year, right? We're coming up on a year of this and beyond because of the campfire. So I just want to appreciate families and know that we're here for you. That's why I became a school counselor. I want to help my family. So please reach out to your educators and supporters.
and that's a really good reminder that our community especially has been through a lot, and that we need to kind of forgive ourselves if we feel like our parenting is not at our best. We've been
Yes.
through a lot. All of us are transitioning to a new life that we never, and we're in it for almost a year now. And so we kind of think this is the normal, but it's not really normal. This is not normal. And so
No.
sometimes I have to keep reminding myself, this is not normal.
And I think you just saying it to me felt good. Like, thanks, you're right. And that you can say to your kids.
Right. Yeah, they need to be reminded too.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, thank you again for all being here tonight and engaging in this conversation. It was so incredibly helpful, and I will get those slides from you, Melissa, because they're amazing. This concludes our session, and as a reminder, enrollment at Inspire is open, and if you're interested in enrolling as a teen in an inclusive environment, in a very supportive environment, please check out the website inspirechico.org. We also have two upcoming parenting webinars that you might want to take a look at. So just go to inspirechico.org/learninginspired so you can check those out and register for them. So thank you so much, Melissa. We loved having you. You're so wonderful, and PV is very lucky to have you.
Thank you. All right, take care, everyone.
Okay. Have a great night.
You too.
All right, bye.